Hey, Trucker,
Yes, Mayor.
do you like 1408?
Yeah. Uh, hey, Mayor.
Yeah.
Do you like 1408?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Nice. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, we can talk about that. So, welcome into the M&T Show. Couldn't find a better name because a lot of things have been taken. Because believe it or not, there's a oversaturation of people talking about random movies. But we figured since we spend too much time during uh during D&D talking about the movies we've watched that we would just start a separate show. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, strike while the iron is very, very cold.
Yeah. That the iron's so cold it's raw. They haven't even gotten it out of the rock yet. But we're leaving this disclaimer up for a minute before we show you the other low budget thing that I have planned, which is just the movie poster. But we need this up for a while.
I mean, see, don't crap on things low budget too badly because some of the best movies that were ever made were incredibly low budget.
That is true, and this is one of them. This filmed
Yeah,
in
but
like
like
what, four locations?
like three, like four, maybe five if you're being incredibly generous based on which ending of the movie you want to see. I personally prefer the actual theatrical release and not the really bad kind of cringe um, alternate ending that they had for the movie. But we can get to that and we can get to that a little bit later down the line.
Yeah, this will be something that we'll explain once. When we're talking about these, there's going to be spoilers, but here's the best part. These movies have probably been out for 20 years. So if you haven't watched them, you're not going to. Or you will
Well, I
watch them
mean,
after we talk about them.
a little behind the scenes here. Like we've been putting together this massive list
We're almost at
for the.
300.
No, we're over.
Oh,
I've
are we?
I've added some.
Oh, I haven't visited the document in a minute.
All right. You still got a few in like the middle 100s that you need to indicate whether you've seen them or not.
Yeah, it was getting hard to
But I
do it.
would I would hazard a guess that the vast majority of the movies on that list are pre 2010.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of really in some cases there's movies in there that are older than you and I combined, but not for nothing, but they just don't make them like they used to.
But yeah, we're talking about 1408. This is a horror movie I feel like really flew under the radar for a lot of people.
Yeah, I will consider it one of my crowning achievements that I introduced you to it.
Yep. I Me and
Mhm.
Thunder came over to your house, and this is one of the movies we watched. It's starring Mr. Samuel L. Jackson and John Cusack, and that's like one of
Literally the only two big names in the movie. Everyone else is just kind of bit players.
I think total on screen there was only ever like 300 people, if you count the extras.
Yeah, I mean they're not a whole lot of people. And then for the sake of the narrative of the thing, there's also some repeats, but
Yeah.
you know, we can cover that here in a minute. But it's further proof that you don't really need a massive budget
No, not at all.
to put together a really good story because the vast majority of this thing is practical effects and it's all done in you know one room, but it's several different versions of the same room.
Well, it's like
Mhm.
three rooms because it's got that weird living area, the bedroom, and the bathroom.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's like
but it's one
it,
hotel
it,
room.
it it's one of the like really nice quote unquote hotel suites.
Yeah.
You know, it has like a quote unquote den, and then there's a bedroom with an attached ensuite to it. And if the room wasn't what it is, it would be a nice hotel room.
Yeah, I mean,
But
it's kind of a crappy old hotel.
I mean, I wouldn't say crappy. I mean, it's I mean, it's a it's a middle New York City, swanky 4 star.
Yeah, it would be a 4 star. It's just very obviously old.
I mean, I guess we should kind of break it down.
Yeah, I mean, essentially
That
the
way people know what the hell we're talking about.
movie, John Cusack is divorced after what their daughter died. Him and his wife's daughter died.
Yeah, their daughter had cancer. They
Yeah,
never specified what or, what variant, but the daughter dies, and John Cusack's character is an author in the story. His name is Mike Insulin, but
right.
not like insulin. It's Enslin, something like that. But after their daughter dies, they split because traumatic event, people drift, and he goes from being a fairly okay middle of the lane author of stories to just doing things that let him travel around and not be anchored anywhere. So he starts doing like really, I call them like schlock, you know, books where he visits these haunted locations and then rates them.
Yeah, he just makes fun of the people that own them and kind of just tears down their
Hmm.
business.
Yeah, because I mean, like the vast majority of them are, really just kind of touristy trap, haunted places. You
Yeah,
know,
basically.
everyone likes to believe in the idea that places can be haunted, but I've never experienced anything that makes me go down that rabbit hole. But the the twist of the story is that somebody randomly sends him a postcard from this hotel. I think it was called the Dolphin.
Yeah, the dolphin.
And it says, "Don't visit room 1408." Haha, roll credits, duh. But, you know, he makes the little joke that when you add the numbers of 1408 together, it equals 13. Ooh, scary, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah. So he goes to the hotel, and one of the coolest lines in the entire film happens not too long after that when he meets uh, Mr. Olin. I think it was Olin,
I think it was
which
Olin too. That
is
sounds right.
Samuel Samuel Jackson's character. He's the manager of the hotel. Well, night manager of the hotel. And it's like, so, is it, ghosts, ghouls, wicked wee beasties? And Samuel L. Jackson's character just leans in and says, "It's an evil fucking room."
Yeah,
The movie then spends the next hour and a half showing how evil it can be.
and it's got to be one of the only horror movies that has jump scares that aren't cheap or stupid. Like they actually work.
No, all of the jump scares are not, like modern horror, just for the sake of a jump scares. They all make sense. And I never thought I would ever say this, but 1408 is like the one movie that could make a Carpenter's song terrifying. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to remember the song.
Well, it's the Carpenters, and it plays on the room's alarm clock, and
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
it's the room. Have we been 5 minutes more now?
it's been 10 minutes, but just
But the phone and the alarm clock are the methods by which the room communicates with Mike while he's in it.
yep,
Like the phone will ring and it'll be like the downstairs concierge desk, but it's actually not. It's the room fucking with him. Like his dead daughter is on the phone at one point,
yeah,
and
it's
that
really
really
messed
throws
up.
him for a loop. But the way the room messes with him the most is the alarm clock. Because it will randomly start playing We've Only Just Begun by the Carpenters. We've only just begun. And I never ever thought I would say a Carpenters song could be pants shittingly terrifying, but 1408 makes it possible. Because, like, Mr. Olin gives him this thick folder of all the messed up stuff that's happened in this room. A man drowns in a bowl of soup.
Yeah, that's the silliest thing that they have in there.
Most of the people literally throw themselves out a window. One maid actually got burned to death when a steam pipe in the bathroom just randomly burst. One other maid clawed her eyes out with a pair of scissors
Yeah,
because the room just messes with people who are in it. And then there's some things that are just purely contextual clues that they never straight out call blatant attention to. And that's the fact that room 1408 is not on the 14th floor, it's actually on the 13th floor. But due to American and, well, Western superstition, the 13th floor is labeled as the 14th floor. So the 13th floor or the 13th room on the 13th floor, a nexus point of evil and all this other fun stuff that never outright gets said. It's just there.
it is also worth noting that we are now far too along in this episode and should have mentioned this a lot sooner. But this was based off of a book from Stephen King, who I don't know if this was uh, pre Coke, during Coke, or post Coke Stephen King, but
I think the book was pre Coke
gotcha.
because there is a noticeable change.
And vibrant degeneracy when he was on the Coke.
Well, not just that, but like the actual quality kind of takes a dip
Well, sure,
post Coke.
when you pump out 300 stories after doing 300 lines, it's a little tough to keep it all going.
My There's only one of his quote unquote post Coke books that I like, and it's the JFK assassination time travel one. 11, I think it's called 11/22/63.
Yeah.
Good book, shitty ending. Because
Even
that's another of Stephen King's problems. He's really good at building a body, but he kind of sucks at ending stories.
yeah, he's too quick to kill it. Though I will say one of his better stories, and I wish they would do a movie or make a better movie if they've done it, would have been Desperation. Desperation is really screwed up.
Yeah. And not to worry, people, we've got some of his other film adaptations on the list.
Yeah, because we've actually gone to where they were, what they were made off of.
Just letting everybody know we will be touching on some of the more popular ones, and some of the less well known ones too.
Well, this one was important to talk about though because it should have been more popular than it was, but kind of came out at a bad time.
Oh, most definitely. 1408 is one of the ones where when people get on the subject of, oh, all of Stephen King's film adaptations kind of suck. Well, not really.
The
Yeah,
thing,
there are some bad ones, but 1408 is not a bad one.
the problem with 1408 is when it came out. I'm trying to find out when it came out.
It was mid late 2000s.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem because yeah, it was 2007.
2007.
So back then there was so many amazing movies that this movie sucks compared to all the other movies that had come out during that time. But now that we've got so much modern slop for us to consume, this movie's genius. But for the time period it came out, it's not a shock that it flew under the radar. This is, compared to everything else that was
Nah,
coming out during the early 2000s, this is mid to low tier nothing,
I mean, you got to remember in 2007, Marvel was just getting ready to, prime the pump on the MCU.
which is the exact time that movies died, coincidentally. I don't know what caused it. I'm not an
Yeah.
expert.
Some some measure of creativity kind of went out the window at some point.
Right around 2008.
2008, 2009, new stuff kind of stopped coming out, and that's when all the remakes started.
Yeah, after
Hopefully nobody gets it in their head that 1408 needs a remake because it is perfect as it is.
yeah, this is one of those movies that should be untouchable. This is, like I said, the only reason this movie ever flew under the radar is because of when it came out. Because when it came out, this movie's terrible. But compared to everything else, this movie is genius. Like, it genuinely is a great movie. It's just, it didn't come out at the right time. And that's why there's like 10,000 fans of the movie in the whole world.
Yeah, cult classic I think is the term that gets thrown around a lot. It's not very popular on the wide scale, but when you narrow it down, it is a niche favorite.
Definitely one of the better horror movies to come out of the year, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, and trust us, everybody. When the movie straight up says that there is no ghost or poltergeist or any of that, there isn't. It is just an evil room. Like the room itself is an entity unto itself, and it really fucks with people.
I think the best sequence in the whole movie is when he tries to burn down the room. Then the sprinklers show up and he gets stuck in a like an ocean storm. And then after the ocean storm is about to drown him, it all freezes over and he's stuck in an ice age. That was sweet.
Yeah, that was. And here's another thing that lends credence to the idea that the room itself is the entity, because at a certain point, you realize while watching the movie that the room is learning how best to fuck with him. At first, it won't leave him alone. Constant pestering from, what he believes to be the front desk, the TV messing up, the alarm clock constantly going off.
annoying banging,
Annoying sounds, uh, stuff bouncing around in the room.
screwing up the
But
time on the
then,
clock.
but then the room switches gears because it goes from being a petty annoyance to targeted maliciousness. Because it shows him his dad who died a long time ago. And his dad says something to him, and the something he says is one of the coolest things King has ever put on paper. As you are, so was I. As I am, you will be. Threat. Not even a thinly veiled one either.
No.
That was when the room said, I'm taking the gloves off. And boy, howdy did it. Because then it started messing with him, thinking that he was talking to his ex-wife
Oh yeah.
several several different times on the phone, on the computer. But then the room plays not its cruelest trick, but definitely one of its cruelest tricks. It makes him think he never actually was there.
Yeah.
Makes him think that he's still back home in California and it was all just some kind of weird fever dream. But then once he starts to connect the dots, it all kind of falls apart and he's back in the room. And he freaks out. I was out, screaming, like throwing shit around the room.
I think that's when he decides to burn it to the ground.
No, when he decides to burn it, comes a little bit later when the room pulls its cruelest trick. But after it brings him back to the room, that's when it really starts to fuck with him like hard. We offer an express checkout service, Mr. Insulin, and then a noose just drops from the ceiling.
Yeah.
And he just keeps denying the room what the room wants, and the room wants him to die because the room is evil. And that's when he thinks he's destroyed the room because the room kind of makes itself look like it's been destroyed. And here's where the room hits him the hardest. The room shows him his daughter.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Yeah, that was messed up.
And I guess we should have been saying spoiler alert and all this other shit, but the movie's been out for a long time.
Yeah, like I said, I kind of
So
kind of covered that already.
the room lets him hug his daughter, and she's all, Dad, I don't understand what's going on. I'm scared. And he's doing a dad, and he's trying to console her, and then the room has her die in his arms.
Yeah, that's right.
And then she literally turns to ash in his arms. That sends him into kind of a psychotic break. And then once he comes out of it, the room is back to being completely normal. And here's where I mentioned he's been watching this alarm clock the entire time while it's fucking with him. And it shows that he's been in here for 59 minutes and then it ticks over to an hour and then it resets,
Yep.
showing him that he's been in this room for maybe a minute. And he's been through straight up torture. And that's when the room calls him again. Are you ready to check out Mr. Insulin?
Hmm.
That's when he decides to set the room on fire and just straight up destroy it. Because who the hell would want to go through all that again?
For 8 hours.
Because in his brain there's some weird time dilation going on. He's been in this room for the better part of a minute or two from the viewpoint of everyone else in the hotel. But the movie insinuates he's been in there, you know, days, months, years.
Yeah, because he almost lives a whole lifetime 3 times over in that room.
And it is ridiculous the amount of shit that the room just throws at him to fuck with him as hard as it can. But the one thing I failed to mention, he has a little like tape recorder.
Right.
And that's what he does to take his notes so he can go back and, write them down like books. But he thought he lost it because once he sets the room on fire and it kind of backdraft style and, explodes on him, he gets rescued. And Olin basically, makes sure that nothing bad happens to him personally. And they, permanently close that room down, never to be remodeled and rebuilt. And then it's like he reunites with his wife. And in the box full of crap that he brought with him, because he moved back in with her, was that tape recorder. And he takes the tape recorder out of the bag because it's in a little evidence baggie.
Yeah.
He hits rewind, and you can hear him talking to himself while he's in the room. And then on the tape, you hear the voice of the dead daughter.
Yep.
And he's just straight up staring at his ex-wife like, bitch, I told you I saw her. And that's how the theatrical cut ends. And the theatrical cut is so much better than the director's bullshit where he dies and he like becomes part of the room. I hate that ending.
That sounds stupid. It ended the
It's
way it should
very
have for the theatrical
it's
release.
very it's very stupid, and that's why I didn't show it to you, because no one should have to sit through that stupid ass ending.
Yeah, I think that would have ruined it for me, honestly.
Because in that ending, Olin, Samuel L. Jackson's character, goes to Mike Enslin's funeral, and he wants to give the box full of Enslin's stuff, including the tape recorder, to the ex-wife, but she refuses to take it, you know. So he goes back to his vehicle, puts it in the back seat, climbs in the driver's seat, and he's getting ready to go, to drive away. And then he sees somebody sitting in the back seat in the little rearview mirror, and who is it but Mike Enslin, looking like a burnt marshmallow.
Yeah, that's stupid.
And then it does the only jump scare that was done for the sake of a jump scare. He like jumps forward and tries to grab Olin, and that's how that cut ends.
That's really bad.
It's bad. It's like the ending that you think they put together before they consulted somebody and said, "Who, you think they'll think this is stupid?" And then everyone in the control group said, "Yeah, that's really stupid." And they came up with the theatrical cut where he lives and has his dead daughter's voice on a tape recorder that he had with him in the room. The only evidence that any of the shit he said happened actually happened. That the movie hits different every time you watch it. To me, it does anyway, because you know what's going to happen, but it still hits you.
It's a good one. It, like I said,
It's
it's a very good movie. I would recommend
it's
anybody watch it.
easily it's easily in my top 10 horror movies.
Let me do an important search here.
What's really fun about it, to me anyway, is it's not even structured like a traditional horror movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
He goes in the room, and at first nothing really happens because the room is letting him, it's leading him into a false sense of security. And then slowly over the course of God knows how long, it just slowly starts to turn that dial, 1, 2, 8, 9, 11. And the more he resists, the more the room turns that dial.
It looks like you can buy it on YouTube or Amazon Prime for $4. So
It's totally worth it.
since Lars Ulrich has taken all of your ability to make money from the internet, what you can do is try to write him a letter asking him for exactly $4 to purchase this movie for you. I'm not saying he'll do it, but you can do that.
I mean, you know me as much as the next guy. I don't like spending money unless I have to.
Yeah.
But if this damn near 20-year-old movie was still 19.99, I'd still pay it. I mean, I practically did when I bought the Blu-ray for it a couple of months ago. So
There's something
it's worth it.
seriously wrong with my mouse. It's not working good.
Oh.
It's an easy fix. I'll just unplug it and plug it back in.
So now that we've talked about it, let's look at the IMDb for this bad boy.
Yeah, let's see what the so-called experts have to say about it.
It is sitting at a 6.8 out of 10. Based on 771 user reviews and 161 critic reviews.
Oh, I didn't even know that Tony Shalhoub was in it. Wisconsin's finest, Detective Monk.
Yeah, I think he plays one of the entities of the room.
Oh yeah. Let's see.
Let's see what it says. No, he plays Sam Farrell. That was John Cusack's character's agent, his literary agent.
Yeah, that's right. I wonder if they have any people writing reviews on this movie. Just see if we can pick the top
Well, let's
five. Here we go. User reviews. We'll read. I'll read off the top five of them. See if anybody's on drugs.
see.
Let's see. We've got an 8 out of 10 here. Top-notch supernatural thriller. If your horror movie tastes run less towards chainsaw wielding maniacs and more towards things that go bump in the night, then this is the movie for you. And it just talks about how this was, it just kind of
Oh, and
does a
see,
whole.
this review actually touches on something I forgot to mention while I was, waxing philosophical about it. This reviewer gives it a 7 out of 10, and he says, great horror film, but a lot of the reviewers are missing the point. The people complaining about practicality, such as he could have done this or he could have done that, completely miss the entire point of the film. Being in room 1408 is a visual and physical representation of the 5 stages of grief.
Yeah.
Grieving, mourning, and learning to move on from the untimely death of his daughter. He experiences every stage of grief at some point during the movie. As he works his way through each one, it is represented as a different haunt of the room. And yeah, because there's the bit where you mentioned where he's basically in like a, tumultuous ocean kind of thing. Then there's, the frozen hellscape. One part of the room is basically just the entire room looks like it's been burnt and destroyed. So there's denial, barter. Was it denial, bargaining? I don't remember all 5 stages, but that's actually something I forgot to talk about.
There's some guy that rated it 2 out of 10, but he's I mean, I'm not going to read this whole thing because this is like 6 paragraphs of him just kind of. I don't think this guy paid attention. The title of this is "Am I Missing Something?" and then he just basically recaps the movie, and it's very clear that he missed something. Okay, so yeah, he's
Mm.
just mad that the subtleness of the haunting had gone away, which means yeah, he did just kind of miss the point. It isn't that the room was supposed to ever be subtle; it was just learning. So yeah, it's a silly review. But to find, out of 75 reviews and all of them are between 7 and 8 stars for the most part, yeah, it's pretty good. Or yeah, 7 out of 10s. I should say the stars are still a 5 rating, but yeah, I mean that's not a whole lot else to talk about on this one. It's just a good movie. You should go watch it. IMDb
This
says
five out
so.
of this 5 out of 10 review says Stephen King just ripped the Eagles Hotel California and made a crappy horror story out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
I mean, I guess you could interpret it that way, but it makes me think that you didn't actually watch the movie.
No, but that's one of those ignorant comments that are funny. That gets a pass. That's a funny. I
That
feel like that's
reminds
a
me,
troll comment.
I have another movie to add to the list now that we've done this. Let's see.
We don't need to be adding more movies to that
Oh,
list.
come on. This is a good one to add though.
You add it, and
I know you'll like it.
I'm sure I will.
It's another Cusack film.
Yeah, I do like John Cusack.
It's called Identity.
One of the definitely a top 20 actor for sure. I don't. I know people
Yeah,
like.
he's
Sorry.
I said, yeah, I mean, yeah, he's got one of those careers that has a lot of downs, but also some really good ups, you know?
I don't know. I don't think he gets talked about enough.
He's one of those actors that hasn't really done anything in a while, but when he does do something, it's either really good or eh, you
Yeah, but it's
know?
never his fault that it's bad.
No. Most of the time, if he's in a movie that's kind of bad, it's either the script was kind of mediocre or anything of a million other reasons.
It's almost 90% of the writing is just garbage.
I mean, he was really good in Con Air, Runaway Jury, High Fidelity.
Gross Point Blank. Uh,
I haven't seen that one yet,
you
but
gotta watch that one. That one's funny.
I think one of the weirdest movies he ever did though was Being John Malkovich.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
Man, that's a weird one. I could tell you what it's about off recording because it's a fever dream of a movie. You know what I mean?
There's too many of those movies that are just listless.
Some of them are okay, but like the vast majority of them are just what the hell did I just watch? You know,
But yeah, I mean,
that's an hour and a half, 2 hours of my life I wish I could get back kind of stuff.
I gotta be honest. I think we thoroughly covered this one. You'll have to let us know in the
Oh
comments
yeah.
below how we're
How
doing so
old is
far.
he? Sitting here looking up John Cusack now. 58.
That's surprising.
Let's see, what's the last movie in his filmography? Huh. I've never heard of any of these. But hey, just gives us more stuff to watch. They made a movie of that?
What?
Ooh. We were talking about Stephen King earlier, since this is a Stephen King adaptation. I did not know they made a film version of Cell,
Oh, did they?
which is another Stephen King book. And you'll never believe, but it's John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson again.
They do a good job.
I It made $1 million. Bomb.
It's
How
not
much
worth
did it take
watching.
to make? I don't know. Sometimes it can be. Oof. Yeah. Bomb. Bad bomb. Cost 12 million to make and it only made 1 million back. Yeesh.
But I think that's a good place to end this one.
I think so too. The maiden voyage of the M&T show.
Not sure if I'm not sure if this is what people were hoping for, but hey, we did something. We listened to the comments.
It's two grumpy grouches on digital couches talking about films.
Yeah, and
Me.
we're not here to get into a philosophical debate about it either. We're just talking about what we've seen.
Yeah.
But we
Hopefully people find that kind of thing interesting, because even if all we end up doing with this is telling people about movies that they end up watching and liking, I would consider that a success.
yeah, that's really all that matters.
Because
But
trust me, people, there's some movies on this big old list we got that I guarantee you a lot of you've probably never even heard of, let alone seen.
I guess we should hit it with our ending segment where we both recommend a song and or artist to listen to, and we'll end it there.
All right. You want to go first?
Uh sure. What songs have I been listening to recently? I have to pull up YouTube Music actually to answer that question. That's the easiest $14 I spend a month.
See, I have the Apple catalog, so basically, if it's in the Apple Music catalog, I can get it.
Big Log by Robert Plant is a good one. It's a good driving song. What about you?
It's not bad. I'm gonna go with a band instead of a specific song.
That works.
I'm gonna go for Diablo Swing Orchestra. It's imagine if you were to take jazz, swing, and sprinkle in some metal and classical on top of that, you'd get what these guys are. It
Neat.
is it's a different kind of music.
That sounds a little bit odd, but like it could work. Well, that's about it. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later.
See everybody.